You want to know who the Forsworn are? We are the people who must pillage our own land, burn our own ground. We are the scourge of the Nords, the axe that falls in the dark, the scream before the gods claim your soul. We are the true sons and daughters of the Reach. Spoken like a true Reachman, there's no doubt that you've come across the Forsworn in your travels throughout the western expanses of Skyrim, known as the Reach. This hold, as well as a large chunk of eastern High Rock, is the home to the Reachmen, and the Forsworn are one of many Reachman clans. The Forsworn member, Cortoran, speaks romantically of them in the Imperial records. However, in reality, the Forsworn appear to be little more than savages. They spend a little too much time in the company of hagravens, and for some reason these barbarians consider themselves experts in performing heart transplants. I doubt the Dragonborn spares much concern when putting these beasts down in droves. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Today I have a lore video to share with you about a specific Reachman named Durcorach the Black Drake, who defied all expectations to become the most powerful man in Tamriel. It's quite a feat, and the domino effect started by his reign has shaped the world we now know. So let's get things started by giving some context about who exactly the Reachmen are, beyond simply savages. The Reachmen are for the most part Bretons in regards to their racial background. Due to the positioning of the Reach in the lands bordering Skyrim with High Rock and Hammerfell, their blood is usually a mix of man and mer, Bretons with the occasional bit of Need, Imperial, Orc, or even Daedra entering the gene pool. The main signifier of the Reachmen is not their racial features but their religious ones. Their religion has a huge impact on their lifestyle and culture, and this no doubt plays a part in their unpopularity. The Reachmen revere hagravens, and are easily dismissed as Daedra worshippers. This is only somewhat true though, as the Reachmen worship a mixture of Aedra and Daedra. The specific deities isn't super clear, as you can find shrines to various Daedra and Aedra in many Reachman camps. The consensus seems to be that Hircine is the most important, and his 5 aspects are represented by specified animal spirits. For a long time the Reachmen made their home in this land, ignorant of political borders. They took up residence within Markarth shortly after the disappearance of the Dwemer around the 700th year of the First Era, and they ruled over the Reach for around 4 centuries. During these years, the Reach was divided among 10 warring kingdoms, until Phaelon the Red Eagle was born, who was prophesied to unite the Reachman kingdoms together. The Elysian Empire of Cyrodiil eventually conquered this land, exiling Red Eagle. He then sought the help of the Hagravens and likely became the very first Briarheart, and the living spirit of pure vengeance. War raged, but eventually the Empire proved too powerful and the Reachmen lost the land they believed to be rightfully theirs. Not much changed for the men of the Reach until the interregnum in the 430th year of the Second Era, over 2,000 years later. During that long period of time, the Reachmen established their reputation for barbarism. Red Eagle's cooperation with the Hagravens and the creation of Briarhearts became a part of their culture, and unsurprisingly the civilized folk of Tamriel looked down upon this with disgust. The Reachmen believe the land they fight for was gifted to them by Hircine himself, and they dedicate their entire existence to reclaiming it from whoever holds dominion over it. Their fondness for human sacrifice and the procedure of creating Briarhearts is understandably considered taboo by most, and it is easy to paint the Reachmen as subhuman, encouraging opposing armies to deal with them without mercy. But you get the idea. The Reachmen are not very normal, and their barbaric practices, culture and lifestyle is not well suited to conquering land and ruling over civilizations. Let's not forget the fact that the Reach is sought after by many Bretons and Nords due to the rich valuable ores ripe for mining. Silver is abundant in this region, and forces far more competent than the tribal Reachmen are not going to give up that wealth easily. They seem destined to forever dwell in ramshackle readouts, plotting unsuccessfully for independence and making great cannon fodder for wannabe heroes and evil slayers. But despite their less than ideal history on Tamriel, there was a time when things went rather well for the Reachmen, and that is thanks to an ambitious chieftain named Durcorach, nicknamed the Black Drake by his people. Early in the 6th century of the Second Era, a previously unimportant warrior, Durcorach, rose through the ranks to become the chieftain of his tribe named the Longhouse clan, but his ambition clearly knew no bounds as he mounted an impossible conquest of not just the Reach, but the entire Cyrodiilic Empire. Durcorach, or the Black Drake, seized the opportunity presented to his people during the chaos of the interregnum. Upon seizing the Ruby Throne, the Black Drake started an unprecedented legacy for the Reachmen, and the dynasty of the Longhouse Emperors began. Durcorach married Varaxia Farn, a member of the prominent Farn family in Nibene. This solidified his claim to the throne and tied members of the Elder Council to his cause. Abnathan, the patriarch of the family, was one of these council members, and he begrudgingly served Durcorach during his reign. Durcorach and Varaxia had a son named Morikar, who became his heir, and this was fortunate because Morikar would soon find himself sitting upon the Ruby throne as the second of the Longhouse dynasty. In the 541st or the 542nd year of the Second Era, Durcorach led the Reachmen on an invasion into High Rock, destroying and pillaging everything in his wake. Even when they held the most important seat in Tamriel, nothing could quell the Reachmen hatred for the Bretons, it seems. Impatient and thirsty for bloodshed, Durcorach the Black Drake abandoned his siege on Wayrest to commit his troops to Daggerfall. This was a long way from home, and failure proved to be fatal. Emeric of Cumberland, the King of Wayrest, in a daring display of strategic genius, flanked the Black Drake's ranks, and along with the defenders of Daggerfall, a pincer attack was executed, crushing the forces of the Reach. Emeric slew the Black Drake with his own hand, forcing Morikar to take up the responsibility of Emperor. It seems that Durcorach's admirable ambition had finally gotten him killed. Morikar ruled sufficiently enough. It wasn't an eventful reign, but maybe that is something he should be credited for. It seems he carried out his duty without doing anything stupid enough to etch himself into the history books. Morikar's son Leovic, who had done his duty dealing with border protection during his father's reign, became the emperor by the 566th year of the Second Era. Like his grandfather, he married a Farn. This one was named Clivia. Evidently, the Farns were deeply embroiled in the short-lived dynasty, present from start to finish. Perhaps the most notable part of Leovic's early reign was the commissioning of the Emperor's Guide to Tamriel, which was likely used as an inspiration for the well-known publication, The Pocket Guide to the Empire, published a few centuries later by Tiber Septim. This useful deed was soon overshadowed by a much more foolish deed that would lead to his downfall. Leovic eventually decided to legalize Daedra worship. Whether this was his brilliant idea or the idea of his advisors matters not, for Leovic would be the one to face the consequences. It actually made sense for the Reachmen, with tribal blood and an undeniable connection to the old ways of the Reach, that he would think this is a good idea. After all, princes like Hircine are revered in the Reach, and it is believed that Hircine himself gave them their rightful homeland. Either way, this naturally caused unrest in the civilized society of the Empire. Many nobles who once supported him changed their tunes, and Duke Varon Aquilarios of Chorol led this new chorus. Abnathan, the Elder Council member and father to Leovic's wife Clivia, aided Varon and his Colovian armies in his uprising. In a long and bloody rebellion, the throne was usurped by Varon, and Leovic's corpse was tossed into the imperial sewers, thus ending the dynasty of the Longhouse Emperors. The Black Drake's achievements lasted only 2 generations. The Farn family had been there at its commencement, and they were there when it fell apart. Abner's scheming had seen many emperors come and go, and the Imperial Battle Mage had somehow lived 164 years as of the 582nd year of the Second Era. Ever the opportunist, Clivia soon married the Emperor Varon Aquilarios. While the dynasty only lasted a few decades, the impact was great. Varon may not have come to power if it hadn't been for the Black Drake and the Longhouse Emperors, and Varon played a significant role in the events of the Elder Scrolls Online. He created the 5 companions to locate the Amulet of Kings, and then he hoped to use the amulet to make himself Dragonborn, and it was Varon who was eventually betrayed by Manamako, leaving Clivia to assume the imperial throne as Empress Regent. They seized their opportunity when Varon tried to use the Amulet of Kings, causing the Soul Burst, a massive explosion of arcane energy. Manamako stepped forth and said, "Varon Aquilarios, you are no heir to Elysia. You will pay for your sacrilege. The veil between Tamriel and Oblivion tears and splits asunder. My master, Molag Bal, is free to claim Tamriel for his own." Varon disappeared and the barrier between Nirn and Oblivion was destroyed, opening the door for Molag Bal to begin the plane meld. Molag Bal's dark anchors began to plunge into the earth, setting up the events of the Elder Scrolls Online. There is speculation that Abnathan played a part in Manamako's plan. The Farns were notorious for being Daedra worshippers in secret, though the Soulburst seemed to be a line crossed by the Worm King, and Farns swore to seek vengeance. But all of this chaos unravelled as a result of the downfall of the seemingly insignificant Longhouse dynasty. None of this would have been possible if not for the ambition of one power-hungry Reachman, who expanded his dominion from the Reach to the whole of the Cyrodiilic Empire. And there you have it, guys. That was the story of the Black Drake, and the domino effect which led to one of the greatest events in the history of Nirn. One Reachman named Durcorach, born among barbarians, rose to prominence, ruling the mighty Cyrodiilic Empire. The true sons and daughters of the Reach may have had it tough over the eras, but Durcorach and his Longhouse clan would not be forgotten, and scholars can forever wonder how a chieftain and his horde of savages took up residence in the Imperial City. Durcorach had sat his arse on the Ruby Throne, and many men would kill to say they'd done the same. So next time you find yourself passing the spiked palisades of some redoubt, spare a moment to think about the Black Drake and his humble beginnings, and then go kill those Daedra worshipping troglodytes and their hagravens too. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you liked the video, maybe give it a like. Once again, my name is Drew, and I will see you in the next one.